So I rarely talk about fashion trends on my channel, namely because I think that they are a grand waste of time and money on items that are basically just for the hype one moment and then out the next. But I know that a lot of other people do follow trends and really buy into the idea of what is hot and in for one season to another. And while I'm by no means somebody who buys into trends at all, I'm not gonna lie, it can be very difficult to resist the temptation to do so when you are literally bombarded every single moment of the day. And so that's why for today's video, I wanted to talk about the 10 trends that I've seen in fashion as of the recent past that I really wish would just die. And of course, before we get started, I must stress that these are my own personal opinions around these trends. Of course, we are all entitled to one. Let's talk about the 10 trends. These are not exhaustive. If you find others that you would like to share, please do so down in the comments below after you've seen this video. But let's get started with number one. And these are in no particular order, by the way. And these are actually pertaining to footwear that I wish people would stop going on about and trying to make it happen. And these are the Crocs. Oh my goodness. Crocs have been around, of course, for more than just a few years. They've been around now for, I feel like, decades at this stage. They're often worn as, I suppose, like a comfort shoe, and you can see why, because they do look very comfortable. I will give them that. They look very breathable with all the little holes in them, but they are ugly as hell. There's only specific circumstances I will accept someone wearing Crocs, and that is children wearing them, people who work in a profession, probably indoors, where they need to wear Crocs or they're the most comfortable. So that could be like in the medical field or something like that. And then the third and final reason is if you are literally wearing them inside the house as slippers or for gardening, where you need something waterproof. Those are the only three scenarios in which I will accept someone wearing Crocs, because those are not fashion statements necessarily. They're more for practicality and function. But anything other than that, people trying to make fetch happen with these shoes, I just cannot get behind. There's no which way that you can turn these Crocs into something that is, you know, lit. And I know that they've had collaborations with like Balenciaga. They've done one, I think, was it with Pizza Hut or KFC? You know, they're trying to get their name out there. They've definitely become mainstream, but there's no which way you can cut it that makes a Croc look nice. I hate the little giblet things as well. That, you know, you put into the little holes. I think that makes it also very childlike, which is why I can accept when children wear it, but not when fully grown adults wear it. And I think if you're also spending crazy money on the Balenciaga collaborations and whatnot, I think that really reflects on your financial decision making, and it's just ridiculous to me. So I wish these would go away. I've seen people try and attempt to style them like hypebeast style, or, you know, try and style it in, you know, with some of the pastel colors or more neutral colors, but they just do not work. They're god awful, okay? It's like the modern clog, and I'm not here for either of those. Next up, for trend number two, we're going to be talking about clothing, and a very specific type of basic clothing that we all need as a woman, and that is skirts, but not just any skirt, the ultra mini, or I guess micro skirt. It honestly pertains to a wider conversation that we must have around the bimbification of our women in society. Mini skirts that basically look like a belt, and we have a little guest here. Pebbles, the Pomsky here, is going to be joining us, who knows for how long. I saw brands like Diesel, I think Miu Miu popularized the micro skirts that are basically covering only your butt cheeks, if that. And I just think, yes, okay, for a photo that might be funny, that might be attention grabbing, but longer term, who is wearing that? I just think that shows the hypocrisy level of our society as it currently stands, where if you wear something that barely covers your coochie, that if someone then stares and goes, what the hell is she wearing? You then claim victimhood and that you're being objectified. And I just can't help but think that in the future, when people look back on their wayward youth and everything is on Instagram and everything is documented, digital and online forever, that they may look back and cringe, and maybe they look a little bit of a streetwalker. I think that's alarming, and that's why I wish micro skirts would go out, because also in this deep winter that we're having, micro skirts are just not practical, okay? Even in the summer, it's hot, but it's not that hot that you need to bare your butt cheeks, okay? And I hope you're wearing shorts underneath that. Now moving on to trend number three, and this one actually is also in tandem with number four, which I'll talk about shortly thereafter, but this is the tiny bag trend. I very much see fashion as being, okay, you've got this swinging pendulum, but this kind of stationary, the security and the constants are in the middle, and that's where I like to be, because that gets the most longevity and use, of course, right? But with tiny bags, I just think that they are so impractical, for one, but also a bit novelty. You know, some people like it because it looks cute, and the Jacquemus La Chiquita looks so cute, and maybe it'll get some views and maybe it'll get some clicks. After those 2 seconds of curiosity, I go on about with my life, and I don't see how a tiny bag that fits literally like 2 Tic Tac is going to go into your daily life. And yes, it might be cute, but it's so impractical. It's often hundreds, if not thousands of pounds for mini bags, micro bags, as with Chanel, for example. And while yes, we women love shiny things, cute little objects, just don't think you need to commit to that by spending hundreds or thousands of pounds on them, because these luxury brands are making quick bucks from you guys because they literally serve no functional purpose. They are so easy to make. And I know some people will come at me and say, you just don't get the vibe, Mel. You can clip it onto your bag as a bag charm. You can fit more than 2 Tic Tac. Maybe it's a stick of gum. But I think in the justification of the madness, I think we can do the mental gymnastics to make something justify when we know plain and simply it is just a waste of money. And I think that's what people are doing with tiny bags. And let's actually just take this opportunity to pivot to the trend number 4, which is then in contrast, the giant bags, the humongous bags that can fit your kitchen sink and then some. And the ones I'm talking about, I just think it looks ridiculous on a normal person's frame. I can't help but think that is almost the exact inverse of what I was saying around the tiny bag. While one looks comically small, one looks then comically humongous. And also they are often very impractical to lug around. With a bag that big, you'll want to fill it with so many belongings, which ultimately invariably means the items are very heavy, especially if your bag is leather. It will weigh it down a lot. It's probably just going to be for travel, just maybe for work. But even for then, I would say that's probably a little bit of a gaudy option. I think when people bought into, for example, the Dior book tote, the really big ones, people were using them as glorified beach bags and then that was it. And then you never saw them again. I think waste of money. I personally like to stay somewhere in the middle with practical handbags that will stand the test of time. Next up, trend number 5. And this is a trend that I've seen a lot in the recent year or so. It's coming back into resurgence, and it's footwear, specifically that of the ballet flat. Now, I myself have one pair of ballet flats, which are the Chanel ballet pumps, and I got them in like a neutral colorway, so they universally work well with most outfits. However, I must say when I bought them many years ago at this stage, I was a little bit influenced by the trend, the ballerina pump trend. And Miu Miu does it the best. Now Valentino's on the bandwagon many years later. They're trying to bring it back. And I will say that not only did I fall for this as a trend, but I also think in retrospect that apart from being, the it item at the moment and being a staple, a classic that everybody said you needed to get from Chanel, they actually, upon wearing them many times, don't do anything for my frame, for my physique. It doesn't elongate my leg like a heel does, or, maybe a pointed toe does. It makes my foot look really bunched. It looks like my legs are really short, and it kind of looks a little bit juvenile. I must say though, as it pertains to the resurgence of the ballet flat with, again, Miu Miu and Valentino, adding this kind of like grungy edge to it, almost kind of with like bondage details of like chains on it and straps on it. I think there's something a little bit insidious about adding those details on a shoe that is inherently more juvenile, especially if you have a strap over top. It's almost giving me the, children's shoe, very cute, where they have like the Mary Janes. It's inherently, I think, if there's something that's really trendy, really in, I try and steer away from it. Now moving on to another footwear trend, one that I've talked about a few times on my channel already, and that is the dad sneaker or the dad trainer. And this one I think is obvious for a number of reasons. It looks bulbous, it looks oversized, it's heavy. Inevitably, they're obviously going to get out of trend because no one wears those kind of shoes on the daily. It would be impractical and frankly stupid. And of course, the worst offenders are like the Balenciagas, who are disgraced in many other ways now. And you've also got, Gucci, who've done the dad sneakers, Louis Vuitton, even Chanel as well. And I just think, okay, some are better than others, but I think some of them take the oversized nature of the dad sneaker too far. To have like multiple soles, layers, they have many inches off the ground and on the sides, and everything just looks OTT. Now we're on to trend number 7, and next up we have another clothing trend, and this one is one that I wish would really go away faster than it currently is, but it's still here, and it's the sheer clothing trend. When on earth did it become more empowering to wear less clothing to men, to say an F you to men? I don't understand this. Because while people might think that we are more liberated today, if you cast your mind back only 20, maybe 30 years ago, well, we weren't even like so conservative that you couldn't see your ankles, right? Women were a bit more covered up. They had a little bit more to the imagination. But nowadays, there is nothing left to the imagination. Everything is out there. You're basically wearing like your underwear underneath like a sheer dress, which is basically pointless at this stage. You may as well just be naked. And I just can't understand how this is more empowering and how this is fashion for people. I think it cheapens women. It cheapens us to the extent that we are now actually the perpetuators of our own objectification, if you will. Unless it's literally for a nightgown or you're literally wearing lingerie in the comfort of your own home with your partner, I don't see how you can be walking on the street with this sheer clothing and not expect people to gawk at you. Now moving on to our next trend, which follows the similar kind of line of reasoning as well, and it is the no pants trend. I literally cannot believe that this has become a trend. Like, I think there's something a little bit insidious about how we're basically dressing people like adult babies. There's just something really odd about the fact that these trends are the ones that are big. It's embarrassing to see these people going out to try and seem really cool and like they are an it girl or something, when in actuality you're just streaking and you're publicly indecent, and that could be arrested in most other countries. And also it just looks really stupid, like you're dressed up on the top and you've got maybe a heavy coat and then you have no pants or something. I don't get that. I think everybody needs to leave undergarments where they are, and that is under your other garments. Now we're nearing the end of this video. We're on to trend number 9, the logo mania trend. I'm not saying, you know, small, tasteful logos here and there, because that defeats the whole purpose then of what luxury is, and I would also be myself guilty of that. But I'm talking about logo mania in that it's emblazoned, it's gaudy everywhere, all over a specific item, and you're literally just buying it to shout, look at me, give me attention. Plus, you're probably going to have a target saying mug me on your head. And I think sneakers are like the worst offenders. Some of the kind of monogram t-shirts and jackets and things, especially from the likes of Gucci and Fendi, can be too OTT. And some of these logos from fashion houses, especially ones like, for example, Burberry, who constantly change their logos, it is clearly going to date you to a specific collection, a specific point in time, especially if a brand keeps changing creative directions of their brand. I have gotten rid of a lot of logoed items, but you know, each to their own, I suppose. And now on to the final trend to end this video, number 10. And of course, a lot of you may guess from my prior trend that I talked about, this is quiet luxury. I've obviously covered this in a dedicated video beforehand. I just think that, you know, buying a striped top or something from Zara or H&M and then trying to pass yourself off as some sort of old money, stealth wealth, quiet luxury person is just screaming that you have no money. And, you know, the same people who can be quite luxury one day are wearing sheer clothing and no pants trend the next. So I just think it's really disingenuous. I wish it would pass, more so because I don't think it's a trend, it's like a way of life. And I think it's really insulting to people who do dress classic and elegant and timeless to have people pretending that they can put on this as like a mask or something and then take it off when they feel like they can. That's where I have the issue with it, not necessarily in the aesthetic, but more people touting that they are the kind of spokespeople for this aesthetic, when actually it's the rich and the wealthy who adopt this lifestyle. But even they like a little bit of colour, a little bit of logo here and there. And so I don't think it's like a binary of, you know, quiet luxury people only wear logoless things, otherwise they're not quite luxury. And our little girl Pebbles has come, and I think that is a good place to end this video because she has very been patiently waiting for me so that we can go on a walk. So those are the 10 trends. I would love to know if you agree, and if you also have other trends that you wish would go away too in the comments down below. But that all being said, I'll leave this video here. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.